Okay, so we will continue with our discussion on emissivity. So we worked out a problem in the last class where I gave you the spectral emissivity. What is that? It is the hemispherical spectral emissivity, right? From the hemispherical spectral emissivity we got the hemispherical total emissivity. We worked out for a tungsten bulb. Of course that bulb is nowadays dying. From that second generation, third generation, from that we went on to CFL, and now from CFL we are going to LED and so on. Okay. Now same 3000 Kelvin, we will work out the problem for a material which is competing with tungsten. Okay. There are other possible alternatives, right? If something is heated to 3000 Kelvin, it will also glow and all that. So let us look at a material like a ceramic material, a zirconia based ceramic. Okay. Assuming that experimentally somebody conducted experiments, so epsilon lambda versus lambda. Okay. How do we do these experiments, and some basic ideas will be clear from problem number 9, which we will solve after solving this problem 8. You just need a detector and calibrate it, and then you can get emissivity. Now epsilon lambda versus lambda is like this for the zirconia based ceramic. Now for the visible part of the spectrum, it has got a high epsilon lambda which is 0.8. For the remainder of the spectrum, that is less than 0.4 and greater than 0.7, it continues to be 0.2. It is showing a spike in the visible part of the spectrum. Now assume that in your tungsten bulb everything is remaining the same. You pull out the tungsten filament, you are replacing by zirconia filament. Now we want to compare what will be the power consumption of this zirconia bulb. What is the ratio of the power consumed by the zirconia bulb to the power consumed by the tungsten in the visible part of the spectrum, which will give more light. So then you get an idea of the engineering aspects of what will happen if epsilon lambda versus lambda is given for various surfaces, and you are trying to calculate epsilon, and you are trying to calculate other quantities which are of engineering interest. That is the goal of this problem, of solving this problem. A zirconia based ceramic, problem number 8, a zirconia based ceramic. A zirconia based ceramic has a hemispherical spectral emissivity. A zirconia based ceramic has hemispherical spectral emissivity distribution as shown in the figure. A zirconia based ceramic has a spectral hemispherical emissivity distribution as shown in the figure, full stop. This is being considered hemispherical spectral emissivity distribution as shown in the figure, full stop. This is being considered for use, as the filament of a light bulb. This is being considered for use as the filament of a light bulb. Okay. The questions are: A, what is the total hemispherical emissivity of a zirconia filament operating at 3000 Kelvin? What is the total hemispherical emissivity of a zirconia filament operating at 3000 Kelvin? Question mark. B, for zirconia and tungsten operating at 3000 Kelvin, for zirconia and tungsten operating at 3000 Kelvin, for zirconia and tungsten operating at 3000 Kelvin in an evacuated bulb, for zirconia and tungsten operating at 3000 Kelvin in an evacuated bulb, which filament requires larger power consumption? Which filament requires larger power consumption? Again there will be question mark. Which filament requires larger power consumption, right? Part C. With respect to production of visible radiation, which of the two filaments is more effective or more efficient? Which of the two filaments is more efficient, right? With respect to the production of visible radiation, which of the two filaments is more efficient? Justify. right? That means you will have to justify with some numbers, justify. Okay, shall we start solving? So epsilon, the story is from epsilon lambda you have to convert it to epsilon, and then you have to use the Stefan Boltzmann's law and then look at the power consumption. Some critical data is not given, the area of the bulb, but needless to say area of tungsten bulb is same as area of a zirconia bulb, all that you can cancel, right? All the T infinity other things will not, T is also the same, T infinity is the same. So the power consumption will be a direct ratio of the emissivities only. Then the part 3 is you have to look at what is the radiation which is produced in the visible part of the spectrum. Okay. Now A I want to get this fellow hemispherical total emissivity. Okay. So I call this as lambda 1, this is lambda 2, right? Lambda 1 and lambda 2 visible part. Okay. T 3000 Kelvin. So lambda 1 T is 1200 micrometer Kelvin. Okay. So starting is good, no problem. Now we write an expression. What happened? Vinay, any problem? You are stuck without paper, pencil, calculator, or what? Everything is there. Okay. Now you have to write the formula for epsilon is, what is the formula we have? All that cos theta, sin theta, all those things are not at all important for us. Okay, already gave epsilon lambda, so the theta is taken care of. The theta will trouble us if we have that epsilon lambda dash. Now the dash is not there, right? This can be broken down to this is not better to use IB or EB? This is better. There is no problem in using either IB lambda or EB lambda, but do not use EB lambda in numerator and IB lambda in denominator, then all the answers will be cupping by a factor of pi or 1 by pi or whatever. You may get incredible emissivities. Okay, so plus lambda 1 to lambda 2 plus lambda 2 to infinity epsilon 1 Yeah, please look at this formula. There are 3 terms. Epsilon 3 I have put epsilon 1. Epsilon 1 equal to epsilon 3. Agreed? 0.2. Now we will have to use the f function chart. Now f of, yeah, this will be too much if you show like this. No, from the chart, from the chart, for 1200, not 213. F of that is for 0.7, 2100, correct. 2100 you have to do some interpolation. What did you get? 0.08. Okay, so we got these values. Now we will insert all these values into the expression for hemispherical total emissivity. So before that, okay, this varies from 0 to 1, right? If I do not like you, I can give like this in the exam. So you are sunk 20 minutes to calculate, but it is pointless. See, it is just a mathematical quantity we can keep, but I do not think there will be surfaces which are so fancy like this. Okay, surfaces will be like this, maybe it will exhibit some other emissivity in one other portion of the spectrum, but these are all, but if you see radiation heat transfer books, such things are there. This is basically an academic exercise, so that the students get sharper. They are very comfortable with the F function chart. Now epsilon is 0.2 into so what is this? Point not? No. Plus 9?
1. No, 9.
Okay. Yeah, it's finally after all this 0.8 only, is it or no? 0.2? Okay. Okay, so I repeat, if epsilon lambda versus lambda is given, do not make the mistake of taking some value of lambda, cutting the distribution and finding the area under the curve and getting the average epsilon. That is not correct. Some people who have missed lot of classes because they are very confident that they have cleared JEE and all that. Okay, if something is given like this, you have to get area under the curve divided by lambda 2 minus lambda 1 and I am getting epsilon. Thinking that you are smart, it does not work, because the epsilon must be multiplied by the f, right, because sigma t to the power of 4 is there, alright. So fine, epsilon is point, so A is fine, A part is over. So the hemispherical total emissivity of zirconia is 0.249. Now we do not have, now we will have to see whether it is a good candidate. That will be known only if we solve the part B and part C of the problem. Part B is the power consumption. What will be the power consumption? What will be the energy equation for the bulb when it is operating at steady state? You assume that convection and conduction, all those things are not there. What is the energy equation, heat transfer equation for the bulb, for this bulb? Temperature. I squared R equal to epsilon sigma, I squared R can be written as Q. Okay, that is a Q is what is given by the, coming from the supply. Therefore, Q equal to epsilon sigma A. So Vikram will again ask me, how are you putting epsilon outside T infinity inside? You will have to wait for that story. Okay, assuming that is correct. Now both the filaments are operating at 3000 Kelvin, assuming that the ambient temperature is same for both, and Stefan Boltzmann constant has to be constant for both the filaments, and the area is also the same. Therefore, the ratio of the power consumption is just the ratio of their emissivities. Fine. Now, therefore, Q zirconia by what is the emissivity of the zircon tungsten? So how much is this? 0.7. Okay. So the zirconia bulb consumes only 70% to be at the same temperature. Okay. That is not our goal. The goal is let it to consume more energy, less energy. What about the light? That comes from part C. We are also ultimately we are interested in the amount of light it produces. In the visible part of the spectrum, infrared and all, it does not matter. It will heat up. It will heat us up. Okay, that really does not matter. But infrared is also used in airports for the swine flu screening, right? These are all infrared. It will give the color maps, and then if certain body parts of an individual are beyond the band, then they will quarantine them. And correct, in the airports you can find out whether some person is having fever by taking infrared image. Correct, you know that, right? That was routinely going on. But now we are talking about visible, because the light bulb has to produce visible radiation. We are interested in reading a book after sunset and all that, right? May not be always for reading, but we need light, right? Because we always want to ape the, we don't, right? So that is the goal of all this. Now, what about the answer to the part C of the question? Part C of the question says, with respect to the production of visible radiation, which of the two filaments is more efficient? What is it, 1.78? How did you do that? Not just emissivities, you can't do it like that. What is the radiation emitted in the visible part of the spectrum?
Depends on the black body fraction multiplied by sigma t power.
Exactly. Black body fraction in the visible part of the spectrum multiplied by sigma t to the power of 4 multiplied by the emissivity. Are you getting the point? The radiation which is coming out of the bulb must be equal to sigma t to the power of 4 into the black body fraction corresponding to 0.4 to 0.7 micrometer band multiplied by the corresponding emissivity. This we can work out for both the bulbs, okay, and sigma, if you want you can substitute sigma value for sigma and t and put it as a number. I would much rather prefer to keep it as sigma t to the power of 4 because I am looking only at the ratio. Then I will be finally convinced that the zirconia bulb is far more efficient, okay, just work it out, right. So radiation, no, this is 8C. So epsilon zirc into f of lambda 1 to lambda 2 into sigma t to the power of 4. So what was this emissivity? 0.249. What was it f of lambda 1 to lambda 2? 0.081. Okay. So Q visible zirc, okay. So Q visible tungst is given by 0.36, same 0.081. Here we are having trouble. What is the emissivity in the visible part of the spectrum for tungsten? What is the emissivity in the visible part? Are you getting the point? We cannot get the. This we should not put this. I am changing a lot of things. Just hang on. So for tungsten, tell me. Yeah. Sorry for the small slip. This formula is correct, but I cannot put epsilon for the whole thing. I should put the epsilon. I should insert the value of epsilon or emissivity corresponding to the visible part of the spectrum. So it is 0.8 for the zirconia filament, but it is only 0.45 for that. Therefore, even though the tungsten filament has a higher hemispherical total emissivity as opposed to the zirconia filament, the zirconia filament, by virtue of it having a very high spectral emissivity of 0.8 exactly in the visible part of the spectrum, it gives better or more visible radiation compared to the tungsten filament, and its power consumption is also 0.7. Zirconia is infinitely better than tungsten. Of course, cost and other things, availability, that is a separate. Then you have to do what is called a multi-objective optimization. You have to do Pareto plot and all that, right? You know what a Pareto plot is? You have to plot the two quantities, right? You have to plot the two quantities and high, low, right? For example, IC engine, you want efficiency versus emission, high efficiency, low emission. You always want something which you cannot get. Then you compromise, right? You want to have CGPA was time spent, correct? They are orthogonal, right? I mean, so but you want minimum time to be spent and maximize. Everybody wants to work at Corner efficiency. That is a problem. Profs are also trying to work at Corner efficiency and urging students with. Okay, but basically, oftentimes the wants and the resources don't match. So we will have to arrive at a compromise. So the Pareto optimality is like that. In this case, thermally, from radiation point of view, this is better, no doubt. But what about the availability, other things we have to see. But I think we have moved away from tungsten. Nobody uses that bulb nowadays. Hostels we have changing everything to LED now, right? Okay, CFL also is giving way to LED. Fine. So this gives you a good idea of this is a good problem if you consider only emissivity. But a surface apart from emitting, it will also reflect and absorb and so on. So, but because we have not studied absorptivity, we have not included absorptivity in the calculations. Then once we formally define absorptivity and reflectivity and transmissivity, all these things will be included. So a good heat and radiation problem will take half an hour for you to solve. Epsilon lambda you will calculate, you will change it to epsilon, reflectivity you will change, or absorptivity you will change. Then you will look at the overall energy equation, and then if it is only one body it is fine. If there are two bodies you have to see the view factor. If there are three bodies you will have a system of simultaneous equations. So it can take a long time for a multi-body problem, okay, even surface radiation, leaving the gas radiation. But if the medium also participates, then it complicates things further, right. Now we will solve one more problem. So we have solved two problems where the spectral variation is taken into account. We have solved only one problem where the directional effects are taken into account. So we will solve one more problem where the directional effects are considered. Now this is a slightly tricky problem because it involves basic concepts, right. So it is more a test of your fundas. So consider a situation like this. If you have taken down the figure, I will start explaining the configuration. There is a emitter A1, okay, it's a small emitter, area 6.25 10 to the power of minus 6 meter square. It may be a circular disc, you can have pi d square before equal to, you can find out. Everywhere there is vacuum, so that you do not worry about convection and conduction, and okay. So this is intercepted by another area A2. A2 is the fellow who is receiving the radiation, okay. Now when it is at position A, then it is normal, right, it is normal, and this is your theta. When it is normal, it is intercepting some radiation power which can be measured. I have an instrument to measure that, I will give you that value. From that value you will be in a position to find out what will be the emissivity corresponding to theta is equal to 0 for this surface. Are you getting the point? Now I move it horizontally, to a position B such that this angle is 45. Now the d omega a1 cos theta d omega will become d a2 cos theta by r squared, all that. The r is also changing from 0.4, okay. Suppose I give you the power, then you can also calculate the emissivity at the new position, and you can take a call on whether this is a diffuse surface or not. If the emissivity in position A is different from the emissivity in position B, then it is not a diffuse emitter. But if it is so also, we do not know whether it is same in all the directions, but at least you can say between the 0 and 45 it is having the same. Are you getting the logic? Now I will give you the data, you can take down the problem, okay. Consider an arrangement as shown in the figure to detect radiation. Okay, consider an arrangement as shown in the figure to detect radiation emitted by an elemental surface of area A1 is equal to area A1 equal to 6.25 in 10 to the power of minus 6 meter square. And temperature T1 is equal to 1100 Kelvin, and temperature T1 equal to 1100 Kelvin. The area of the detector A2 is 4 into 10 to the minus 6 meter squared. All these data are given. A1 6.25 in 10 to the power of minus 6 meter square. T1 is 1100 Kelvin, and A2 is 4 into 10 to the power of minus 6 meter square. For the radiation emitted by A1 at theta equal to 0, for the radiation emitted by A1 at theta equal to 0, within brackets normal direction, that theta is equal to 0, normal direction, close brackets. For the radiation emitted by A1 at theta equal to 0, within brackets normal direction, at a distance of L equal to 0.4 meter, at a distance of L equal to 0.4 meter, the detector measures a radiant power of, the detector measures a radiant power of, the detector measures a radiant power of 1.5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 watts. The detector measures a radiant power of 1.5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 watts. Determine the directional total emissivity of A1. Determine the directional total emissivity of A1 for theta equal to 0. Are you getting the point? We can only determine the emissivity of A1, the emitting surface. Now you will ask me, sir, what about surface the A2 and all that? Some internal calibration, what its absorptivity is not our point, is not our concern now. I know what is the power which is coming from A1, and nothing is happening in between. So there may be vacuum. Don't ask me questions on what is the design of A2. You will design if you become a if if we become an expert in radiation measurement and all that, right. So the first part of the question is get epsilon dash theta at theta equal to 0. Now the detector is moved horizontally. Now the detector is moved horizontally. Now the detector is moved horizontally to position B. Now the detector is moved horizontally to position B such that theta equal to 45 degrees. Such that theta equal to 45 degrees, full stop. For this position, the detector measures a radiant power of 1.46 into 10 to the minus 7, 1.46 into 10 to the power of minus 7 watts. Can you comment, the question is, can you comment on whether surface 1 is a diffuse emitter? Can you comment on whether surface 1 is a diffuse emitter? Okay. You must use Stefan's law, you must use the concept of solid angle, okay, and then originally when I started out with solid angle, I gave you the emissive power. Now we have gone through 10 or 12 hours of this course, I will give you the temperature and you have to multiply it by the emissivity. Now using solid angle on all that, the right hand side you will get an expression where only one unknown will be there, that is epsilon dash of theta. Left hand side you know what the power the detector is measuring. Solve for only one unknown, that is epsilon dash theta equal to 0. Please do it first part, second part it will automatically flow, but the radius will change now, correct. So what is EB? $83,000. You didn't do this. 83,000 14.5, yeah? Yeah, please tell me. Huh? 0.5 watt per meter square, correct. IB is equal to sigma T to the power of 4 by pi, correct. Yeah, you can keep it like that, but of course for the sake of completeness let us do it. 26,000 watts per meter square per steradian, good. Okay, so first part, now we have to say Q equal to is measured. That I gave you, right. Now we have to write a formula for Q in terms of our fundamental quantities. Hopefully in that expression epsilon dash theta will be there, correct. Now Q is also equal to A1 epsilon theta equal to 0 IB d omega, correct. What I am assuming is this solid angle will be the same anywhere, at any point the solid angle will be the same, because that is why I gave elemental area. If I give a big area then this will cup, then I have to subdivide and then do some integration, averaging, that will be a nuisance, okay. We will stick to incremental area, elemental area. So now d omega A2 cos of, correct, by r squared. Yeah, please tell me A2 is so how many steradians? I have 2.5 10 to the minus 5, correct? Is this correct? A1 is also there, so not 83,000. Okay, I am just checking whether I am making some mistake. It is a good practice to check from the dimensions and the units. Okay, now I hope I did not give a problem where epsilon is greater than 1. Point. Okay, so epsilon so the normal emissivity is 0.36. We got a decent answer, so it's fine. Okay. This can also be treated as, this is one possible way by which you can measure emissivity. If you are able to have a detector arrangement, you have this thing and you can have a vacuum and all that, this way you can, if you are able to eliminate all surroundings, the effect of conduction and convection, it is possible to get this. Now the more difficult part is this detector is now moved horizontally, so that cos 0 is no longer cos 0, it is cos of theta now, and this distance 0.4 meter is also changed because now it is at an angle, and then because the distance is also increased, expectedly the power, radiant power intercepted by A2 has to go down. If I have given a value greater than this, straight away you can say answer is wrong, the problem itself is wrong. Now from 10 to the power of minus 6 it became 10 to the power of minus 7. Okay, that does not mean emissivity is exponentially going down, because other factors are not helping it receive more radiation, like the radius has increased and the angle is also changed from 0. Now please apply the formula again, but now we may have A1 cos theta also is there. Please do not forget A1 cos theta will also come, correct?
A1 cos theta and A2 cos theta both.
A1 cos theta, A2 cos theta both will come. Okay, because that radius is like this, radius is like this, A1 has to be aligned like this. Please remember, we always, because that R means that you are talking about normal to that radius vector. Okay. Now let us do this part B. Correct? Is it okay? Now first we have to get the r dash. Did we call it L or okay, doesn't matter. Is it correct? Huh? Yeah. 1 by root 2, huh? Root 2 L. 0.566. Okay. Now d omega, or you want to say d omega dash, correct? A2 I expect the solid angle to come down. Solid angle has to come down because it is seeing less and less of this, okay, because the distance is increasing and the angle also changes. What is 8 point? 8.14
84
minus 6 steradian. Rajesh, you are able to get Samarjit? Okay. Leo, you are able to get? Okay. Now, what do we do? Q equal to Q dash is now what is given? 1.46 into 10 to the minus 7. Q dash is also equal to d omega dash IB Should we put the dash for the other one also? Yeah, you can add that. Therefore, $26,000
432
for suppose had we got an answer of 0.36, we could have conjectured that there is a possibility that it is a diffuse surface, but now I know for sure that it is not a diffuse surface, because with two angles we cannot decide, but now just two angles are giving different answers, therefore it is surely not a diffuse surface. Okay, since epsilon dash is a function of theta, and at this point in time I am not able to get the f, because if I know the how much power is intercepted at 4 or 5 angles, I can use some Lagrange polynomial or cubic polynomial, quadratic polynomial and get a functional form f. I do not know the functional form f, but I know that it is a function of theta. The emitter A1 is not diffuse. Okay. Yes, so this gives you a fairly good idea of how to handle problems involving directional emissivity. We have seen some problems involving directional emissivity as well as problems involving spectral emissivity. Tomorrow's class we'll start with absorptivity and followed by problems. Then we'll do reflectivity and transmissivity, right? Before we get on to view factors. Okay, tomorrow 9 o'clock.